Have you ever wondered if a land once considered dead could come back to life? What if I told you that the Dead Sea, a place where life seemed impossible, is beginning to show signs of revival? It may sound impossible, but there are changes happening here that only the prophecies in the Bible could have foretold. We are witnessing a living miracle unfold before our eyes, not just through science, but through the fulfillment of prophecies that are over 2,600 years old. In one of the driest places on earth, a miraculous transformation is taking place. The Dead Sea, a lifeless expanse that has been shrinking year after year, now shows signs of life returning. But you won't believe what science can't yet explain. Why is the Dead Sea called the Dead Sea? How did a once thriving region become a dead land? Let's explore how the world witnessed the disappearance of this natural wonder and why the consequences are so vast for the surrounding countries. What makes the Dead Sea even more fascinating isn't just its environmental decline, but its deep historical and religious significance. Nestled between Israel and Jordan, it is the site where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, an archaeological treasure trove. It is also where Jesus Christ was baptized, making it an essential location in Christianity. What's unfolding here may not just be a geographical revival, but a spiritual one as well. But what if the prophecies of Ezekiel were more than just metaphorical? What if the water flowing back into the Dead Sea, restoring life to its barren shores, is the exact fulfillment of his vision? Ezekiel foretold a river flowing from Jerusalem to revive the land of the Dead Sea, bringing life back to a place where nothing should survive. And today, signs of life are emerging. Freshwater lakes and even fish are starting to thrive in this salt-laden expanse. Could this truly be a miraculous revival, as the prophet Ezekiel promised? In this video, we will uncover how these changes might not just be a natural phenomenon, but a clear sign of divine fulfillment. The waters are not just reviving the Dead Sea. They may also be breathing life into our spirits, just as Ezekiel's prophecy foretold. You'll discover the mysteries behind this spiritual and physical restoration, and how it's connected to the greater promise of resurrection and hope. Could this be the beginning of a new era of rebirth for not just the Dead Sea, but for humanity itself? We'll dive into the signs, the science, and the sacred messages, giving you a glimpse into why this moment matters and how it could change everything you think you know about life, death, and revival. Keep watching as we explore the astounding truth behind the resurrection of the Dead Sea and what it means for the future of our world. The Dead Sea, a place once known as the Dead Sea, is now at the heart of a remarkable transformation. This body of water, which had been shrinking year after year, has become a symbol not only of environmental decay, but also of the profound impact that time and nature can have on the very land beneath our feet. Over the past decades, the sea's water levels have been dropping at an alarming rate. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a crisis affecting nations across the region. The water that once filled this iconic body of water is receding, revealing the stark consequences of human intervention and climate change. The Dead Sea, once one of the saltiest bodies of water on Earth, is also facing another danger: the formation of sinkholes. These sudden dangerous pits are emerging along the shore, swallowing entire areas of land. What once was a peaceful retreat for travelers, scientists, and pilgrims alike is now a reminder of how fragile our planet truly is. It is hard to imagine how a place that is synonymous with barrenness and salt could ever come back to life. Yet, as unsettling as it may be, there are those who believe that there is hope. The story of the Dead Sea is not just one of despair, it is also one of rebirth. Despite the growing concerns about the drying up of this remarkable place, the ancient waters are beginning to change, and this transformation speaks to something much larger than environmental science. For centuries, the Dead Sea has held a deep spiritual significance. It has been a symbol of cleansing and renewal, and now, perhaps, it may serve as a sign of the Earth's capacity to heal itself. For many, These changes are not just a natural phenomenon, they are the fulfillment of ancient promises written long ago in the Scriptures. The Dead Sea has been a place of great significance throughout history, both religious and cultural. Situated at the crossroads of Israel and Jordan, it is a site rich in spiritual and archaeological value. In 1947, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient texts that date back over 2,000 years, revealed the profound connection between this place and biblical prophecy. These scrolls are some of the oldest manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible and offer insight into the beliefs, practices, and worldviews of ancient Jewish communities. The Dead Sea is, therefore, not just a geological marvel, but a sacred place where humanity's connection to the divine can be felt in the stillness of its waters. But beyond its religious significance, the Dead Sea also holds great meaning in a broader cultural context. It has been a site of refuge, healing, and pilgrimage for centuries. The therapeutic properties of the water, which contains a high concentration of minerals, have been known since antiquity. People from all over the world flock to the Dead Sea to experience its healing properties, seeking physical and emotional restoration in its warm, buoyant waters. The irony is that a place so full of life-giving properties has also been seen as one of the deadliest bodies of water on Earth. But today, scientists are noticing signs that this place may no longer be doomed to fade into history. Perhaps it is here at the intersection of nature's devastation and spiritual significance that we begin to see the fulfillment of a prophecy that has long been foretold. In the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel spoke of a time when waters would flow into the Dead Sea and bring it back to life. In Ezekiel 47:8-9, he describes a vision of a river flowing from the temple in Jerusalem, and wherever this river flowed, there would be life. This prophecy spoke of the restoration of a barren land, and it is striking to note that the waters of the Dead Sea, once thought to be devoid of life, are beginning to show signs of revival. Could it be that the changes taking place today in the Dead Sea are not merely a coincidence, but rather the fulfillment of this ancient promise? The signs are undeniable. Freshwater lakes have started to form in areas that were once completely dry, and fish have been spotted swimming in waters that were once too salty to support any form of life. What was once thought to be an impossible feat, life returning to the Dead Sea, may actually be happening before our very eyes. What we are witnessing is not just a miraculous revival of a physical landscape, but also a spiritual one. Just as Ezekiel foretold, the waters flowing into the Dead Sea may signify more than just the return of life to a desert landscape. They may symbolize the renewal of hope and faith for all who believe in the promises of the divine. This is not just a story of geography and science. It is a story of faith and resurrection. This story also carries with it a powerful lesson for each of us. The changes occurring in the Dead Sea remind us that even in the most barren and desolate places, there is always the possibility for renewal. It is a reminder that no situation, no matter how dire it may seem, is beyond the power of transformation. Just as the waters of the Dead Sea are finding their way back to life, so too can we find ways to revive and restore the parts of our lives that feel empty or lost. The message is clear. There is always hope, and there is always the possibility for change. The story of the Dead Sea, its prophecies and its transformation, is a story that resonates deeply with those who seek meaning in the mysteries of the natural world. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, there is a greater force at work, a force that is capable of bringing about miraculous changes in both the physical and spiritual realms. The revival of the Dead Sea, the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, and the emergence of life in what was once a lifeless place. All of these elements serve as a powerful reminder of the power of faith, hope, and the promise of restoration. As we witness these changes unfold, we are reminded that life is not just about surviving, it is about thriving, about finding ways to renew and restore ourselves and the world around us. Just as the Dead Sea is being revived, so too can we experience our own personal rebirths, drawing strength from the hope that, even in the darkest of times, there is always a way forward. Whether we are seeking spiritual healing, physical restoration, or emotional renewal, the story of the Dead Sea teaches us that transformation is always possible and that the power to change lies within us all. In the end, the transformation of the Dead Sea is not just a tale of environmental recovery. It is a profound story of faith, renewal, and the power of prophecy. It challenges us to look beyond the surface and to see the potential for life and growth in the most unlikely of places. As we continue to witness this miracle unfold, let us remember that no matter how dead or barren our circumstances may seem, there is always the possibility for rebirth. In the ancient texts of Ezekiel, we find a vision so profound it has been etched into the hearts and minds of those who read the scriptures. Ezekiel 47, 8-9 speaks of a time when waters would flow into the Dead Sea, bringing life where there was once nothing but salt and desolation. He paints a picture of a river that would transform barren land into a thriving oasis. And it shall come to pass that every living thing that moveth, whithersoever the river shall come, shall live, Ezekiel writes. And as we look at the Dead Sea today, we can see the astonishing reality of this prophecy coming to life. The waters of the Dead Sea, once stagnant and hostile, are beginning to show signs of rejuvenation. It is as though the ancient words of the prophet are being fulfilled in ways that no one could have imagined. Freshwater lakes are beginning to form in areas once thought impossible, and fish, long absent from these salt-filled waters, are reappearing. For many, this is not just a natural phenomenon, it is a sign of something much greater. This transformation is not just about the Dead Sea itself. It is about the power of prophecy and the divine promise of restoration. The waters flowing into the Dead Sea are more than a physical change. They represent the healing and renewal that is available to all of us. In a world that often feels like it is losing its vitality, we are reminded by the revival of the Dead Sea that there is always the potential for new life. Ezekiel's prophecy is not just a description of a geographical event, it is a symbol of hope, of the possibility that what seems dead can be revived. It's a reminder that the divine power of restoration is available to all, whether in our spiritual lives, our emotional health, or our physical world. And yet, even as we witness these changes, we must ask ourselves, what does this mean for us today? In Ezekiel's vision, the river of life flows from the temple in Jerusalem, a place of spiritual connection and divine presence. As we reflect on the implications of this prophecy, we are called to consider how we too can be part of the river of life. What waters are we allowing to flow into our lives? Are we seeking the renewal and healing that comes from a deep connection with the divine? Or are we allowing our hearts and minds to remain stagnant, like the salty waters of the Dead Sea? The Dead Sea's revival calls us to action, urging us to seek the waters of restoration in our own lives. Just as Ezekiel's prophecy foretold a land that was once barren but would bloom with life, so too can our lives experience profound transformation. The healing waters are available to us. We need only to open ourselves to their flow. And this brings us to the profound connection between the physical transformation of the Dead Sea and the spiritual transformation available to all who seek it. This is a message of hope. Even in the darkest, driest, most desolate places, whether they are physical, emotional, or spiritual, there is always the possibility for rebirth and renewal. As we witness this revival in the Dead Sea, we can be reminded that God's promises are not just for ancient lands or long-forgotten peoples. They are promises for us today. The miracle of the Dead Sea is not just one of geography. It is a spiritual symbol, a powerful reminder of God's ability to restore life to that which seems hopeless. Just as the waters of the Dead Sea are now bringing life back into a place that seemed beyond saving, so too can we experience the power of restoration in our own lives. We may find ourselves in seasons of dryness or despair, but the waters of renewal are always within reach. The transformation of the Dead Sea is a powerful invitation to embrace the life-giving waters that God offers to each one of us. It is an invitation to let go of the salt of bitterness and regret, to allow the fresh waters of healing to flow into our hearts, bringing new life and hope. But as miraculous as the transformation of the Dead Sea is, it is important to understand that this process has not come without effort. Just as a river cannot flow into a dry land without carving its way through, so too must we make space for transformation in our own lives. The healing waters will flow, but we must be willing to receive them. The process of renewal requires action, both from the divine and from ourselves. The Dead Sea, once a place that resisted life, is now becoming a place where life is possible again, but only because the waters have found a way to enter. Similarly, in our own lives, we must allow the waters of grace, forgiveness, and healing to enter into the dry places in our hearts. It may not always be easy. There may be resistance. We may feel like the land of our hearts is too barren to ever bear fruit. But just as the Dead Sea, against all odds, is experiencing renewal, so too can our hearts be renewed when we open ourselves to the waters of life. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it is happening. The waters are flowing, and they are bringing new life where there was once none. It is in this revival that we find hope. The Dead Sea is not just a place to witness change, it is a living parable that speaks to us all. As the waters flow into this once dead place and bring life, so too can we experience the flow of God's grace in our own lives. This is a message of possibility. No matter how far we may feel from God, no matter how dry and barren our lives may seem, there is always the possibility for renewal. We need only to open ourselves to the waters of healing that God so freely offers. And so, as we look at the miracle unfolding in the Dead Sea, let us reflect on the changes that God desires to bring into our own hearts. Let us make space for the river of life to flow into the dry, desolate places within us. For as the prophet Ezekiel foretold, wherever this river flows, life will come. The Dead Sea's revival is not just about the land, it is about us. It is about God's promises of restoration, hope, and new life. It is a message that speaks to the deepest needs of our hearts, reminding us that no matter how hopeless our situation may seem, there is always the possibility for a fresh start, for a new beginning, for life to emerge once again. As the waters of the Dead Sea continue to change, let us also change. Let us embrace the waters of healing, grace, and restoration, and let them flow freely in our lives. Just as the Dead Sea is being revived, so too can our hearts, our spirits, and our lives experience the life-giving flow of God's love and grace. The story of the Dead Sea is not just a story of geography, it is a story of spiritual rebirth. It is a story of hope, of renewal, and of the power of God to bring life to even the most barren places. Let us receive this message with open hearts, ready to be transformed by the healing waters that are flowing even now. As the transformation of the Dead Sea continues, we are reminded that its story is not just one of geographical change, but of a profound spiritual significance. The Bible tells us in Ezekiel 36:24-26, "For I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. Then will I sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your impurities and from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you." This passage, when applied to the Dead Sea, offers more than just a glimpse into the restoration of land. It speaks to the idea that God can take what is desolate and bring forth life from it. The Dead Sea, in all its starkness and salt, is now beginning to reveal the potential for life once more. This revival is not just happening in the waters, it's happening in the very heart of the land itself, a place once thought beyond hope. What we are witnessing is more than a physical rebirth. It is a powerful spiritual statement. Ezekiel's prophecy points to a deeper cleansing, a renewal that begins from within. The Dead Sea, once devoid of life, now holds the promise of something new, a new spirit. This parallels the journey many of us face in our own lives. How often do we find ourselves in situations where hope seems lost, where we feel as though we've been left to dry out like the land around the Dead Sea? Yet, the message of Ezekiel's prophecy reminds us that even in these times, there is always the possibility for a spiritual restoration. We need only to open ourselves to the flowing waters of grace, forgiveness, and renewal. In these changing times, it's easy to lose sight of the possibility of transformation. But just as the Dead Sea's once stagnant waters are now welcoming signs of life, so too can we find new life in the places where we least expect it. Like the land, our hearts, minds, and spirits can sometimes feel overwhelmed by the weight of the world, salted with regret, sorrow, and pain. Yet, if we let the waters of grace and renewal flow through us, we too can be restored. It is a reminder that no situation is too far gone for God to bring about transformation. No matter how dry our lives may seem, God's promise of restoration is always available. The lessons we learn from the Dead Sea's revival go beyond the land itself. As the waters of the Dead Sea begin to flow again, we are invited to reflect on our own spiritual lives. Just as the river from Jerusalem is bringing new life to a barren place, so too can we open our hearts to the river of life that God promises. We are given the chance to experience the flowing of divine grace in our lives, a grace that will cleanse us from our impurities and restore us to the fullness of life. This message is especially powerful in today's world, where many are struggling with loss, disappointment, and fear. The story of the Dead Sea's revival offers us hope in the face of despair, reminding us that no matter how dead or dry our circumstances may seem, there is always the possibility of renewal. The waters of grace that flow into the Dead Sea also remind us that it is not just about us, but about the world around us. Ezekiel's prophecy speaks of the land being restored, but it is the people who must be ready to receive it. The river flows not just to the land, but to the hearts of the people. It is in this flow that we find the healing we need, and it is through this healing that we can bring restoration to the world around us. The Dead Sea's revival is not just a personal transformation, it is a global one. Just as the waters bring life to the land, so too can the grace of God bring healing to the broken places in our communities, nations, and the world. As we witness this miraculous transformation, it is crucial to recognize that this is a call to action. Just as the waters must flow into the Dead Sea, we must allow the waters of grace to flow into our own lives. The change we seek begins when we open ourselves to God's restoration. It's easy to believe that transformation only happens in grand, miraculous moments. Yet, it is in the quiet, humble acceptance of God's grace that true change occurs. The waters are flowing. We must simply choose to step into them. There are still many who question the power of prophecy and whether the words of the Bible can still apply to our lives today. Yet, the revival of the Dead Sea stands as a living testimony to the fulfillment of ancient promises. Just as Ezekiel's words foretold a revival in a land that seemed beyond hope, so too do we see the fulfillment of God's promises in our own lives. The revival of the Dead Sea is proof that God's words are not just distant echoes from the past. They are living, breathing truths that continue to shape our world today. This is where the story takes on another dimension. It is not simply about a place or even about the prophecy itself. It is about the transformative power of God's grace. Ezekiel's prophecy spoke of a river flowing to cleanse and restore the land. But in our lives, that river is the Holy Spirit. Just as the waters of the Dead Sea are making way for new life, so too does the Holy Spirit bring healing, renewal, and restoration to our hearts. The revival of the Dead Sea serves as a reminder that when we allow the Spirit to flow into our lives, there is nothing too broken to be healed. It is through this divine restoration that we can experience true spiritual rebirth. As we reflect on the changes taking place in the Dead Sea, we are reminded that the same process is available to us. We are called to allow God's river of life to flow through our lives, bringing healing where there is brokenness, restoration where there is despair, and hope where there is darkness. The revival of the Dead Sea is a symbol of the greater work that God is doing in the world today, a work that is not confined to a distant past, but is unfolding right before our eyes. It is a reminder that God's promises are sure, and that even in the most unlikely of places, new life can emerge. This transformation is not just about the land of the Dead Sea, it is about our own hearts and spirits. The river is flowing, and it is our choice whether we will allow it to bring about the transformation we need. Just as the Dead Sea is being revived, so too can we experience the restoration that God desires for us. The waters of grace are available to all, and it is through our willingness to receive them that we will be transformed. As we continue to witness the restoration of the Dead Sea, we are reminded of the profound power of prophecy and the ongoing fulfillment of God's promises. The changes in the land are not just about nature, they are about the renewal of God's creation, the restoration of broken lives, and the hope that comes with the fulfillment of His word. The story of the Dead Sea's revival is a story of grace, of healing, and of new beginnings. And just as the waters are flowing into the Dead Sea, so too can they flow into our lives, bringing us the healing and restoration we need. As we come to the close of this journey through the miraculous transformation of the Dead Sea and the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, let us reflect on what these events truly mean for our lives today. The revival of the Dead Sea is not just a natural phenomenon, it is a living testament to the power of divine restoration, a vivid reminder that no place, no matter how desolate, is beyond the touch of God's grace. This is not just the land that is being restored, it is the very spirit of humanity, longing for renewal, for hope, for life. In every corner of our world we face desolate moments. We all experience times when life feels empty, when our hearts are heavy, and when it seems like the warmth of hope has long since disappeared. But the story of the Dead Sea offers us a powerful message. No matter how barren we may feel, no matter how many storms we've weathered, there is always the possibility for renewal. Just as the Dead Sea is being transformed from a place of desolation into one of life, so too can our hearts be transformed through the grace that flows from God. Think about it. The Dead Sea, a body of water so salty that nothing could live within it, is now beginning to show signs of life. Can you imagine what that must feel like? To be restored to life after years of stagnation and decay? It's a miracle happening right before our eyes. And just as nature is being restored, so too are we offered the opportunity to be restored in ways that we may have thought impossible. God is telling us, through the waters of the Dead Sea, that it is never too late for a fresh start, never too late for a change, and never too late to embrace the love and grace that can revive the dead places within us. So, as we look at the changes unfolding in the Dead Sea, let us look inward too. What areas of our lives feel barren, stagnant, and hopeless? What are the dead seas within us that need to be restored? Whether it's our relationships, our faith, our emotional well-being, or our personal struggles, the revival of the Dead Sea is a reminder that we are never beyond the reach of God's transformative power. We are invited to open ourselves to the waters of grace that flow from Him, to cleanse our hearts, and to allow life to return where there once was none. But just as the Dead Sea's revival didn't happen overnight, neither will our personal restoration. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to let go of the things that have kept us in a state of despair. The journey of healing is not always easy. There are moments of doubt, of struggle, and of fear. Yet, as we witness the slow but steady restoration of the Dead Sea, we are reminded that God's timing is perfect. He is at work, even when we cannot see the changes happening, and He is always with us, guiding us toward a place of healing and renewal. If this story has touched your heart, if the message of hope and restoration has given you the courage to believe in the possibility of change, then I invite you to be a part of this journey. Your support helps keep the light of truth shining, bringing more stories of transformation and grace into the world. If this video has resonated with you, if it has inspired you or helped you find peace in moments of darkness, I ask that you show your support by liking and subscribing. Every bit of encouragement, every share, and every comment, no matter how small, is a precious gift. It allows me to continue sharing these messages of healing, hope, and divine restoration. Together we are creating a community where hearts are healed, where lives are transformed, and where the light of God's love shines brightly for all to see. Your support means more than words can express. Every like, every comment, and every moment you share these videos with others helps this journey continue. So, if you found value in these messages, if you feel a spark of hope ignited in your heart, I humbly ask that you lend your energy to this mission. Let us continue to spread the message of renewal and transformation. Just as the Dead Sea is being revived, let our hearts and our world be transformed through the power of God's love. This is just the beginning of a greater journey, one where we embrace the possibilities of new life, of hope, and of restoration. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this journey. Your support truly means the world. May the waters of grace flow into your life, bringing you peace, healing, and the renewal that you deserve.